I'm sitting down with Shannon Mattern, founder and CEO of Web Designer Academy and a pricing strategist for service providers who are ready to stop undercharging, over-delivering, and build a business that actually feels good to run. I wanted Shannon on because she is living in the season so many of you are headed towards. Her business is growing, her team is growing, and at some point during a launch, you look up and realize you are basically the project plan. You are not just working in the business anymore. You're kind of carrying the entire thing. So we're talking client side truths, right? Pulling back the curtain for my fellow OBMs to talk to clients who are looking for OBMs and how you know when you are ready for an OBM, what has to be true before you hire one, and what you absolutely should not expect an OBM to do, and what great operational leadership looks like when the business is scaling.
I'm so thrilled to be here, and this conversation couldn't be more timely for kind of where we're at in
Ooh.
our business and our plans and some of the challenges. So I'm excited to talk to you about them.
Well, why don't you give our audience a brief synopsis of where you are team-wise in your business and perhaps how often you launch so we can get an idea of what things look like
Yeah.
on the back end.
So I am obviously the founder and CEO of the Web Designer Academy. And about 4 years ago now, I brought on two team members. I brought on a client success coordinator who helps me with the delivery of my program. And then I had also brought on a marketing and operations coordinator. And then we had a challenging year financially, and I laid the marketing and operations coordinator person off and assumed,
No, it was an employee,
yeah,
right?
these are both
Yeah,
like W-2, like full-time actual employees.
full time.
Yeah. And
Okay. I
and
didn't realize that.
so then I assumed all of those responsibilities. I had been doing them all before. Then I took
Right.
them back over. And you and I have known each other for such a long time, and you have given me such good advice when you've come on my podcast to share, like, you've got to
Yes.
stop doing these things.
I've been on the Web Designer Academy podcast as well.
Yeah. And so, where we're at right now is I'm obviously still working in the business full time. I have my client success coordinator who's part time. I started delegating more things to her. Her role has evolved. We're actually meeting tomorrow at the time of this recording with our new VA team that she's going to be delegating to.
Ooh.
So she's really transitioning into more of that OBM role for my business. But I suspect I experience a lot of the challenges that you might see your OBMs experience with some of their clients who are just used to doing it all themselves and have a hard time making time to let things go.
So what are some of the challenges that you have faced in terms of delegating, right? Because you and I, we've known each other for years. We've had many a conversation around team. What do you think is one sort of humongous thing that really prevents you from successful delegation?
Yeah. So, what I discovered last year was giving feedback.
Mm,
It was really coming out and like, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. An
yeah,
assumption that if I say I would like it done this way or, whatever, that I could hurt your feelings I was just taking on
yeah,
so much responsibility. So
right.
it just was like there was a lot of that going on. And,
Mm,
I really worked on that in order to be able to give more over to my team member Erica, where she's just like, I'm not even thinking
yes,
about that. Like, your feedback helps me do a better
yeah.
job. Like,
Well, so was Erica like WTF,
yes.
Shannon? Like, so how did, because, I want to highlight some of these sort of, I guess, things that aren't so obvious that have helped you become a better
Yeah.
CEO, right? That's what I look at. Being able to give feedback, constructive criticism, just growing as an entrepreneur is such a big part of what happens when you bring on that OBM. Now, Erica has been able to sort of be honest with you, and that's remarkable because that really helps you grow as an entrepreneur. What do you think helped sort of foster that relationship where she felt comfortable enough to say that to you?
Yeah. She's so wise. And one of the things that she said to me, she's like, feedback is trust.
Mm,
And, when you trust me enough to say, what you really want and you believe that I can handle it and that it's not going to damage our relationship, that is the basis of, all of the open communication and the trust required for this to be a really like great working relationship. So I'm sitting over here thinking I have to protect her feelings. And I don't even realize I'm doing that, right? It's so subconscious.
I know. Well, we're just
We're
human,
just
right?
human.
We're just human, we've got our own limitations based on whatever influences we
Uh-huh.
had growing up and probably in corporate as
A
well,
thousand percent. Yes.
Yeah,
It's trust.
it's trust, and I think that is a beautiful, beautiful thing that Erica pointed out. So how have you been able to bake in the feedback? Do you have recurring meetings? Do you have dedicated points where you give her feedback, she gives you feedback? What does that look
Yeah, it's
like?
well, one, I have to remind myself feedback over fixing every single time. This
Feedback oh
mantra
my god,
embedded in
Shannon,
my brain.
what other nuggets are you going to drop on today's call?
These are the things I have to do to self manage myself because,
Yeah,
just when I go to review something and I see something, I'm like, "Oh, and I could fix it so quickly."
feedback over fixing. I feel like this is what I need to start every relationship with my OBM clients. Okay. Like, don't, because, it's very frustrating for an OBM to have something on their list of things to do. And then you get to do it and you're like, oh my God, the client just did it like an hour ago. And we only talked about this like 2 hours ago. And it can be very frustrating. So I think that's a wonderful thing that you are aware
Yeah.
of, right? And that's what I want to make these episodes aware of. Like, I sort of want to pull back the curtain on what it looks like, Shannon, from the perspective of a CEO, because many times when we get into working relationships as OBMs, we don't really know what it's like, what it feels like to be necessarily overwhelmed or with all of this on your plate in addition to, the one holding the visions and the goals. So tell me more. So give me some more of these wonderful Shannonisms, what else do you do to sort of self-manage, or what other things are you sort of incorporating? What other nuggets can you sort of give us in terms of things you're doing, things you're thinking about, deliberate actions you're taking?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can tell you what I'm not thinking is that I'm not like, Erica's not like, I'm
Even
never
better.
thinking Erica's not doing her job. I'm thinking, I've given
Right.
her so much. Let me just take this one little thing off her plate. It's like I'm a team player to my own detriment sometimes, right? So that's
Mm.
kind of where then I have to like stop myself and be like, feedback over fixing.
Stop, drop, and
Yes,
rewind.
exactly. And then say, like, and just kind of put myself in her shoes to be like, she has a plan for how she's going to attack her work. This is on her list. Like, she's planned time for it. She's taken the time to think about it, throwing a
Yeah.
wrench in her day by meddling in her to-do list. Like nobody wants that.
Okay.
So we meet every week where she just kind of gets a download from me of like what's going on.
Mm.
She jumps in is like, okay, here's what I can handle. And also for me, one of the things that we're going to be working on again is like that I'm going to continue to be working on and really trying to empower her more is like, I'm so far out ahead at all times. And I'm like, I really need to like empower her to be ahead of me.
Mm.
Slow down and let her get in front of me and not get ahead of her again. Right.
I know Shannon is the perfect client. And everyone listening is like, oh my God, if only my clients wanted to push me ahead. If only my clients, thought about how overwhelmed or not overwhelmed I was. I mean, where did you acquire these skills? Like, not just being the team player, but, or if I'm aware of their goals, I can help make better decisions on behalf of the business. What are some of the nuggets that you've been able to capture or harness in order to make that such a beautiful working
I
environment?
think it comes from the fact that I was a service provider in my previous life,
Mm,
right? So, our company is the Web Designer Academy. We do for web designers what you do for OBMs, right? We help them run a more efficient business, get clients, like all of these things. And I experienced what it was like to have clients either be unenrolled in anything and just like out there, like over here doing nothing to help me move the project forward, or being like too far ahead and it just being like, okay, we planned to do this, but then you just totally changed everything on me and you're over here and didn't communicate. So I experienced that firsthand. So we use Asana for our project management. We also communicate in Slack. And one of the things that I tell Erica is I'm so protective of our time independence. And I'm like, if I'm up at like 6 a.m. putting stuff in Slack, like, please have your do not disturb on. It is not for you until it's time for you to like get in there and like, you're totally independent of your time, but we communicate a lot asynchronously in Slack. And it's very intentional that it's supposed to be asynchronous for how we run our business. And that's really how we do it. I think there's lots of opportunities for us to optimize. And like one of the things that I really want to empower her to do is just like be the boss of me, you know? If I could like slow my roll a little bit, let her get even more out in front of me, I think that we could even be more efficient. We're adding some VAs to be able to then like my intention is to delegate to Erica, and Erica at her discretion gets to decide to use that VA team. Oh yes, she's aware and looped in on everything. She has input on that 'cause she cares just as much about the company and what we do and the results our clients get as I do. And so she's an integral part of those decisions. As I think about 2026, of course, we're recording this a few months before it's scheduled to come out. But as I think about what we want to do, it's like we spent a lot of time kind of figuring out what worked, what didn't work, and we've kind of landed on some things that we're going to be able to just continue to repeat. And she really helped me systematize and optimize a lot of things in 2025 that now we're just going to be able to kind of put some things on autopilot where there's not so many decisions that need to be made because they've been made. We've taken the time to make decisions together. And now it's like, that's just what needs to, I think that kind of, when we're not making the same decisions over and over and over again, it frees her up to get out in front of me with some other things where it's like, "Oh, I can just discern that this is how we do this." I want to be like speaking more, doing more things like this, lead generation, like being out there. And when I'm behind the scenes fixing a date because I didn't give feedback to say, "Oh, hey, I noticed that needed to be changed from the 9th to the 23rd." Instead, I'm like logging in. Then I get distracted by updating this, and then an hour goes by when I literally could have jumped in Slack and said, "Hey," if I wasn't like worried about like, what if her feelings get hurt because she thinks I'm accusing her of missing something that has I'm projecting something on her that's not even happening. I also was thinking like delegation is a skill that not everybody has. I might be the founder and CEO of a company, but I did that not because delegation was my number one skill. And I think it's by admitting that I'm not great at it and saying, I really need you to like help me here. I'm going to tell you all of the things that like I have just like put on this to-do list for myself, and I really need you to be like, you don't need to be doing that. I'm going to take that. Like I just need help. I need yeah, I need you know, when I hired the person to do marketing and operations for me, she was an incredible human. But what I didn't know is where all of the places that I wasn't going to really allow her to do her job well. And it was very enlightening to me to like hire that role and really have a logical desire to take all of those things off of my plate, and then to like also see myself really disempower her a lot along the way, and not give her the feedback that she needed to do her job well. And so when our company did run into hard times, I never allowed that role to thrive into what it could have been to like even help us get out of that. So I do take full responsibility for that. And, you know, so it's just I didn't know what I didn't know I needed to know about being a leader for that role to be effective, and it was a costly mistake to my business, just even in terms of timing and what that cost to bring on an employee. I didn't realize the level of responsibility I would feel for somebody's paycheck as an employee versus like a contract role. I felt completely different about that. So I think I could have taken smaller bites, if that makes sense. Long story short, should have brought on an OBM to then, like, step into, "Okay, here are the roles we really need on the team to fill with contract positions," and kinda spread the risk out, right? Because then what happened was when I let that whole position go, I let that whole position go. It wasn't just, "Oh, I have to cover this one piece of this because there's some turnover here." So that was a big lesson that I learned the hard way. Say, hire an OBM immediately. Invest in that, especially a scrappy entrepreneur like me. I think I can do everything, and I can. I'm smart. I can figure out how to do any all of the tech. I can figure out all of the systems. Like, there's really not, like, this is something that I realized, like, competence can hide your blind spots. So I would have brought that person on to be that part of me that that is not, like, where my vision is for who I am and for what my company is. Yes, I can do all of that stuff, but I've outgrown that version of me. What got me here won't get me there. If I would have done that 5 or 10 years ago, I probably would have, I don't know, we can never tell the future, right? And I love all of the lessons I learned, even if I learned them the hard way. There's another Shannonism. I will learn from that. I'll get something else out of that that I didn't intend to. But I would have brought that role on my team so much sooner had I if I knew what I knew now, and I could. Yeah. Yeah, I think what comes to mind is something that one of our Web Designer Academy students said about making the decision to join our program, and I would apply this to a business owner making the decision to hire an OBM. Like, the time is gonna pass anyway, the money is gonna be spent somewhere, the time is gonna be spent somewhere. Do you want to continue doing what you've always been doing and getting the same results you've been getting because you're not willing to take the risk of breaking out of status quo and doing something different, risking some money, risking the growth that you're the discomfort that you're going to have to go through to grow as a person, to be able to give feedback or all the things that are keeping you holding this so tight. The time's going to pass anyway. You're going to spend the money on something else. So why not give yourself the tools, the people, the systems, and the support you need to really do the thing you're going to do? And the other thing that I would say is, like, as business owners, we want our clients to invest in us and trust us. The decision to hire the right support that you need is also showing, like, oh, I'm committed to making sure I have everything I need to serve my clients at a high level. I can't do that if I'm, you know, in my project management tool, messing around on my website, building funnels, all of this stuff. I'm not willing to invest in my business. Why would they be willing to invest in my business by hiring me? Like, that work life balance is important to us. We take dedicated weeks offline during the year. And also, Eric and I communicate really well in terms of, like, she I love her because she will check me. I'll be like, "So I'm going on vacation and, we have this thing scheduled and I can take that from the vacation house." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Okay." Like, I forget that, like, just because it's on my calendar, I don't have to do that. And she's very good at reminding me of that. I like, at the beginning of the year when we plan, it's like, what are our offline times? Like, what do you already know is going to happen? And then, if I go somewhere, like she'll cover a coaching call for me, maybe because she absolutely can do that. But also, we'll just cancel them if we need to, and we'll come up with different things. So it's, I think it's just remembering that, like, one of our Web Designer Academy students said this. She's like, we're saving PDFs, we're not saving lives. Like, it's okay. Just some perspective. Perspective. So, and it's also just kind of modeling what we want for the web designers in our program. Like, I don't want them thinking they have to be online 24/7 for their clients. So, almost when we like give ourselves the permission to not operate like we're a global corporation with hundreds of thousands of employees working 24/7 to cover every single shift. And so when we model it, and it gives them permission to be like, "Oh, you mean I don't have to instantly respond to an email that my client," like, no, you absolutely not. So it's just really important to us. And like, I tell our Web Designer Academy students, it's like, you can tell your clients, hey, if they're like, how do I hold my boundaries about when communication happens? And I'm like, I tell people, you can contact me anytime you feel like it, and I will respond during this time frame. And then I don't worry about it. If they're like texting me, like say they're communicating outside of a approved channel of communication. Say you find my number and text me, I'm going to ignore that text. And then on Monday, I will go through our approved channel of communication, say, hey, saw that come through on Friday, you know, like redirect, redirect, redirect. So I think that it's just, yeah, there are so many things to, I mean, I think just being aware of corporate conditioning and employee mindset that we might be experiencing as the owner. There's just a lot of pressure that like we don't even like think about, that like we don't even know is going on. And I think an OBM really has an opportunity, like you said, sometimes, whether fortunate or not, like they can influence the culture of the company. I think that they can come in and, you know, like take that temperature down of the pressure that a CEO puts on themselves to be successful, be making the money, like, all of that, pressure that they're holding on their shoulders to, like, boundaries create freedom on both sides. And so, but then also, if you're an OBM who worked in corporate, you were probably conditioned to that success, that to successfully climb the corporate ladder, you have to do things a certain way, and it can take away your freedom too. So, yeah, I think that that's the biggest thing, is like to just to realize that, well, how we think we might have to run our company is not how we have to run our company, and you could be a breath of fresh air for us.
Now, some of you might notice that I kind of fell off for the end of that episode. Unfortunately, my audio cut, but the good news is that we got all that juice from Shannon. So, if you want to learn more about Shannon, about Web Designer Academy, we are going to leave all the notes below in the description or the show notes so that you can hook up with Shannon. I hope that this was a really great opportunity for you guys to experience what it's like on the client side of the OBM relationship. And, I think insights from Shannon really help us to understand how we can better leverage ourselves as online business managers. I hope you guys love this episode. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or follow us on your favorite podcast streaming platform if you love podcasts, and I will see you in the next episode.